Okay, get this. Imagine a vegetable so incredibly delicious that we almost ate the entire species gone, forever. And now it's so rare that if you pick it in the wild, you're literally committing a crime. No, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. Today, we're digging into the real story of a lost culinary treasure.
So why would it be a crime to pick a vegetable? I mean, what could it possibly have done? Is it poisonous? Is it some kind of invasive superweed? Well, the real reason is, honestly, it's way stranger than that. And it turns out, the story says a lot more about us than it does about the plant.
Turns out the danger wasn't coming from the plant at all. The danger was us. Its only crime? It was just too good. For centuries, this thing was so popular, so sought after, that we almost completely wiped it off the face of the earth. All right, so to really get this story, we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about this forbidden vegetable. Then we'll look at its past as a vegetable for kings. After that, the industrial heist, how we lost it. Then we'll cover why it's a forgotten superfood. And finally, we'll show you how it can be your garden's secret weapon. Okay, let's get into it. A vegetable for kings. See, long before it was forgotten, this plant, it's called sea kale, was the absolute height of fancy food. We're talking a delicacy that showed up on the dinner tables of some of the most powerful people in history. And you know what's crazy? Its rise and fall happened incredibly fast. In the early 1800s, it goes from being this prized plant in presidential gardens to a full-on obsession for royalty. That popularity kicked off a poaching frenzy so insane that eventually the government had to literally step in and pass a law just to stop it from going extinct. And we're not talking about some fad. Back in 1809, Thomas Jefferson wasn't just, planting some sea kale at Monticello. He was obsessed with it. He kept these incredibly detailed notes on how to grow it, treating it like it was a genuine treasure, not just some regular old garden vegetable. He called it one of the finest you could grow.
But while Jefferson was carefully tending to his plants in America, a total mania was breaking out over in Great Britain. King George IV basically turned sea kale into the ultimate status symbol. Suddenly, every single aristocrat needed to have it. The price in London went through the roof, and it started this vegetable gold rush. Poachers swarmed the toasts, and they weren't just snipping off a few shoots. No, they were bringing carts and wagons to dig up the entire root systems, literally stripping beaches bare.
So if this stuff was so popular, so beloved, where is it? Why can't you walk into a grocery store today and buy it? Well, that brings us to the next chapter, the industrial heist. This is the story of how our modern food system just erased it. You see, the secret to what makes sea kale so amazing is a technique called forcing. Basically, to get those beautiful white, super tender shoots, you have to grow them in total darkness. Out on the beach, the shifting sand would do this on its own. But in a garden, it takes a little more effort.
And here's reason number one why it disappeared. To create that perfect darkness, gardeners would cover each individual plant with one of these heavy clay pots. Now, if you're a home gardener, that's a nice little ritual, a labor of love. But for massive industrial-scale farming, it's a total logistical nightmare.
And that gets to the real heart of the problem. You just can't automate this stuff. Every single plant needs a person to cover it, to check on it, to harvest it by hand. It's all about individual care, not machine-like efficiency.
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Sea kale just doesn't work with modern farming. You can't drive a giant harvester through a field full of clay pots. So it was just left behind. It was deemed inefficient. We traded this incredible, unique flavor for pure speed.
But wait, there was another nail in the coffin. Its shelf life, or lack of one. Sea kale is meant to be eaten right now. Once you pick it, its flavor starts to fade within hours. It bruises like crazy. It would never survive being shipped across the country. Our whole grocery system is built on produce that can last for weeks in a fridge. Sea kale, well, it just refuses to play that game.
So, okay, we lost a delicious but difficult vegetable. Big deal, right? Well, it turns out we lost way more than just a fancy flavor. We lost an absolute nutritional powerhouse, a true forgotten superfood. And the science behind why it's so good, it's just incredible. Let's get into it. Sea kale's superpower is that it's something called a helophyte. That's a fancy word, but what it means is this plant evolved to not just survive, but thrive in salty beach soil. To deal with all that stress, the plant has to create these super potent protective compounds, like antioxidants, for itself. And guess what? When we eat it, we get all that goodness. Let's just look at the numbers for a second. We all think of oranges as the king of vitamin C, right?
An orange has about 53 milligrams per 100 grams. Sea kale, it clocks in at around 130 milligrams.
Yeah, that's almost 2.5 times more vitamin C. And get this, it's ready to harvest in the early spring. Think about it. That's exactly when people would have been desperate for an immune boost after a long, hard winter.
But it's not just vitamin C. Sea kale is a cousin to broccoli, which means it's packed with these compounds called glucosinolates, the things studied for their cancer-fighting potential. Your average broccoli has about 55 milligrams, but because sea kale is so tough, it produces way more, often over 100 milligrams. That's almost double the good stuff. So, after all that incredible science, let's circle back to the most important question. What does this superfood even taste like? Well, people who've had it describe the flavor as this amazing, delicate blend of hazelnut and cream with the texture of perfect, tender asparagus.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the best part of this story, your garden's secret weapon. Because it turns out all the reasons that made sea kale a total failure for big agriculture, those are the exact same reasons that make it a miracle for a home gardener. This is its comeback story, and you can be a part of it.
Seriously, for a home garden, this plant is a dream. Check this out. It's a perennial. You plant it one time and you can get food from it for 20 years. It's also gorgeous. It has these big, beautiful blue-green leaves and flowers that smell like honey that bees go crazy for. It's perfect for permaculture because it loves the kind of poor, sandy soil that other plants hate. And on top of all that, it's just unbelievably versatile.
From just one plant, you get 3 completely different things to eat during the year. In the spring, you get those amazing forced shoots. In the summer, you can eat the young green leaves, just like regular kale. And then in late summer, you can eat its little florets, which are like tiny heads of broccoli. It's literally 3 vegetables in one.
And getting started is way easier than you'd think. Okay, you're not going to find the seeds at your local big box hardware store, but you can easily find them online from heirloom seed companies. All it really wants is a sunny spot with soil that drains well. That's pretty much it. You don't even have to live anywhere near the ocean. And that, I think, is the real point of all this. When you plant something like sea kale, you're doing more than just growing food. You're tapping into history, all the way back to Jefferson's garden. You're actually reclaiming a flavor that our modern world decided was too much trouble. It's like this small act of rebellion against a food system that cares more about how long something lasts on a truck than how it actually tastes or what it does for your body.
So, that leaves us with one last question to think about. The story of sea kale is just one story of one food that we lost. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other amazing, forgotten flavors are out there, just waiting in the wings for someone to rediscover them in their own backyard?